Hi class, and welcome back to my vlog for Films About Painting Spring 2020. And today I will be discussing Professor Peck's film that he made for Lesson 7 on street art. And so the questions I am asking myself, that I made myself, and I'm also answering them, are, why is public art so influential? Why is graffiti on trains so popular? If we look at text as visual art, why do people risk their reputation to vandalize something with their art? So I'm kind of pretty much just going to be mainly talking about graffiti, but why art that is so public that you don't even have to pay for it, why is that important? Why is it influential? What does that impact? So it's like a couple questions. I'm kind of going to be answering them all together because I'm pretty sure they're all going to have similar answers. But yeah, tune in. So I mainly wanted to ask the question and answer why is graffiti just so influential? Why is it important? Why is it, as the times have grown and changed from like Da Vinci to now, why is it such a popular form of art? So I went to theodysseyonline.com, and there's an article by Mackenzie Johnson from 2017, and the article is called Why Graffiti is an Important Art Form. So what I like about what Johnson chose to include in this is that she states, and as I quote, "Even if there is obscene language or gang signs in their work, so be it. There are tons of nude paintings or hidden treasures in famous paintings. It's a part of life, part of culture, not something that can be denied or swept away under the rug." So, and she goes on to say, graffiti is here to illuminate a lifestyle and culture that is otherwise taboo in our society, the underground society. This could be gangs, homeless people, or others cast aside by their communities. Graffiti is used to communicate using symbols, words, or even pictures to others about that area, or just a simple way for someone to express their talents in a welcoming way. You can't expect graffiti to be perfect by any means, but that's how art is in a sense. Not everyone gets art or a certain artist's work, and that's totally okay. Same goes for the entirety of graffiti. It should not be overlooked because it is an art form. So I like that Johnson mentioned that this is very, very relevant for those in society that, are not, the white middle-class man that can get into art school and all of that and has that opportunities and can afford that. This is a form of art that anyone can partake in that is, by the people, for the people. And that's why it's so important, because it goes to show anyone can do art. You just have to have the supplies to do it, but that does not always mean you have to have a degree in it. And, we could see that with books that people write. They're like Veronica Roth, who wrote the Divergent series. She wrote that while in college. She didn't even have her degree yet. That's a weird example I used, but I just thought of it out of nowhere. Or there's like those artists who are children who are able to create these amazing artworks, but they're just kids. I doubt they had any formal training in anything. So I think graffiti is a way in which we can see that art, though, that anybody can do, and they could just be the everyday person. And I think the reason why it is so demonized is the fact that it is most likely associated, though, with the minorities in many places. So that, I think that's kind of why some people are against it, and that bothers me very much, because a lot of it is backed up by racism, which isn't great, and classism, let's be real. But I love graffiti for the fact that it is made for everyone and can be done by anyone, and I think that's why it is a huge deal. So I was even thinking too, like in the video that we watched that you made, why do people risk their reputation? And you stated that there is no other outlet. That's why graffiti is necessary. And I think at the time I was like, well, there's a lot of other outlets you could do. You could just draw in a notebook, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I guess if you're drawing in a notebook, you're just drawing for yourself. It's not the same as having it publicly seen by everyone. And after reading Johnson's article, I understand that a little bit more. Like, I already did understand it, but I guess I understand even more why it's specifically graffiti is relevant, because it is something that crosses those class boundaries and pretty much is saying, hey, I'm here and I'm making my art and you can't tell me no, even if you could get arrested for it. And as we saw in the Infamy film, people did, and they didn't care. They got arrested again and again and again for the sake of their art. So trying to research about why train graffiti is so important, I stumbled upon something else, and I'd rather talk about this, honestly. So this is an article by Nick Turner from The Guardian on an article called "The Train Came Insanely Close, Graffiti Artists and Why They Risk Their Lives." So this article pretty much talks about how there are some London graffiti artists who unfortunately were struck by a train when they were out there late at night trying to tag the train. And so this kind of reminded me, though, of when you filmed at one point in your video, there's like, you know, you're seeing the train and the fact that that train goes all over the place and you could see someone's tag no matter where you are. And so this article states, and this is Nick Turner, he's saying, graffiti art, and as I quote, graffiti artists are often thought to be motivated by two things: the egotistical pleasure of leaving behind their nom de jour, don't know how to say that, or tag, and the excitement of doing something dangerous and illegal. But then there is also some more information talked about in here, saying that if pieces hold more kudos than tags, then pieces in highly visible locations, from busy transit routes to exposed rooftops, hold still more. Pieces on trains, especially whole trains, are seen as the pinnacle of getting up. This is why graffiti artists prize such locations as the Loughborough Junction, which is a train station, whose track feeds into central London, meaning their work will be more visible to both other writers and to the public. By writers, they mean other graffiti taggers, whatever. So I'm just trying to think of this in a way that, like, the fact that people will risk their lives to do this art on private property, that could get them electrocuted, could get them killed, could get them arrested. And ultimately, I think it comes down to, if we're looking at it, because I don't necessarily like, because it's not Turner saying this, it's saying that this is how graffiti artists are perceived by them being motivated, you know, by having a big ego and tagging or doing something dangerous and illegal. I almost see it as not necessarily the opposite, but it's kind of like, not to quote Jack Black from School of Rock, but sticking it to the man, like just kind of challenging that, you know, you told me not to do it, you tell me not to do it because of the fact that I'm a minority on top of it, and I'm still gonna do it, and you can't stop me, and I'm gonna make sure everyone can see it, and everyone can see my art that I am not allowed to have on your train, but it's there anyway, and people are looking at it. And I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, but it's the idea that people, graffiti artists, will put it on trains because it is exposure, it gets around to everywhere, but it also is a form of, you know, kind of saying, I'll just say F you to the police, to the person who owns the train. These are all probably rich people, and they're defacing it and making it their own art, and that's kind of cool. I don't know. As much as I don't encourage vandalization, and I know you say that in your film too, I think it is a very interesting art form, though, and I think it is incredibly political, and who doesn't love some good political art? But yeah, that's just something I was thinking of when, you know, looking at this graffiti, especially on this website that I'm looking at from The Guardian, and I will pop up one of them. It looks like this is a, this one in particular that I'm seeing doesn't say who it's by. All right. Well, anyway, here I'm going to flash up the New York rooftops covered in graffiti, and it's a photograph by VW Pics UIG via Getty Images, but I will flash that up, but it doesn't say who did it. But I guess that's another way, is that you only see who did it with graffiti based on their tag, and if you don't know who that is, whatever. If you see that tag again, though, you'll know it's that same person, if that makes sense. So to kind of just finish my thoughts, I would say that the reason why I think graffiti is so influential is because, one, it is in a way anonymous, but it also isn't at the same time. It's a persona that someone can put on top of it. And I kind of just talked about that just now when I was talking about that rooftops image. You know, it's the persona. You only really know them by their tag. And it also is just a way for people to genuinely have an outlet that is politically charged, especially if they are a minority that has been, you know, given so many awful things in their life, and that, you know, it feels like doors are always closed on them no matter what. Well, here's something you could do. You could do some graffiti, and guess what? It's art, and you could stick it to the man all you want, you know? And I think that's why it's so influential, and I think that, like, especially ties in with the trains, because I never understood the train thing when I was younger. I thought it was cool, but I just didn't understand why people would pick trains. But after watching both your film and Infamy, I understand that, like, that's how exposure happens. That's how people can see it, and it could be from anywhere in that region where that train would go, and they'll see your tag, and they don't necessarily have to know who you are, but you're leaving your name on something, and in a way you're owning it, even though it's private property, and that's kind of cool. I'm into that. But yeah, that's all I have for this week. And as always, stay safe, wash your hands, and thanks for watching.